That chair now recognizes the gentleman from California, Mr. Swalwell.
Hi, Mr. Mayor, and welcome to our other witnesses. I was a congressional intern when September 11th happened, and I really appreciated your leadership. It was a terrifying time to be in Washington, even more terrifying to be on the ground in New York City, and you really led a city with your leadership. I even remember reading your book when I was in college, and I still follow the under-promise, over-deliver model.
Thank you very much.
That you prescribed. And I think you would agree that even the Congress came together, and it was a moment of bipartisanship. We sang on, the members sang on the House steps, God Bless America, and the days, weeks, and months after, our country really did come together. And you have really acknowledged President Bush's role, and you seem to have praised President Bush and the role he played. Would you agree, though, that President Obama, since he took office, he has increased the number of drone strikes that the Bush administration was conducting once he took office, and actually went after terrorists more abroad than President Bush did?
I think there are some very good things that President Obama has done. I think there are things I strongly disagree with that President Obama has done. I think I particularly believe that the drone program has been an effective program. I don't know the program in great detail. I mean, there's an awful lot about it that's classified. I don't know exactly how the choices are made about who is targeted for attack and who isn't. But if you ask me in general, do I think the drone program is a good thing? I do, and I think it's a necessary one.
And I was more just pointing out that the program has certainly escalated since President Bush left office, and President Obama.
Yeah, I do. I don't want to get contentious, but I do have one issue with it, maybe coming at it from where I come at it, which is there was such a tremendous amount of concern in capturing terrorists and subjecting them to intensive questioning, including the 3 or 4 that were waterboarded. And now, of course, we've killed many, many more of them.
Well, and I'll get back to that.
The one hesitation I'd have about the drone program is, did we deprive ourselves of the ability to get information from people if we engaged in a little more of the dirtier task of capturing them and questioning them? I'm not an expert on this. I don't know what the right answer is, but I think that's a legitimate question to ask.
But you'd also agree that as far as foreign surveillance and the NSA and the data collection and the PRISM program, that has certainly escalated since President Bush was in office, and our efforts to identify foreign nationals who are participating in terrorists and their efforts to communicate in America, that President Obama, even taking heat in his own party, has stepped up efforts.
He has certainly stepped up efforts and continued some of the programs that President Bush started.
And he participated in the ordering of the killing of Osama bin Laden.
For which I have given him great praise and told him personally I thought was a real act of leadership in doing that.
And I mean, I think there may be disagreements on some of the tactics used, but I mean, I think you would probably agree that, I mean, President Obama has continued President Bush's efforts on the war on terror and has, in some ways, been more successful.
In some ways, he's been more successful. In some ways, he's been less successful. I think he's been less successful in capturing people and getting information from them. My major objection to President Obama's change has been in his unwillingness to describe it as a war on terror, because I think it sends the wrong signals to our bureaucracy, and I think it sends the wrong signals to our enemies. I think they perceive that as a sign of weakness and almost irrationality, that you would not describe us as being at war with terrorists when they are at war with us.
I want to just shift topics. We've seen in the last few weeks, we had a plane crash in San Francisco, which is right near my district, and we saw social media was the first on the ground to respond, before first responders, before traditional media. We saw in the Boston bombings that it was the FBI working in collecting information from social media and using and engaging a new audience to try and learn more about these bombers that helped their investigation. And try and ask you to kind of go back in time. What role do you think social media would have played had it been around on September 11th? And what role do you hope to see it play, or What role do you see it playing as we address the terrorist threat going forward?
I mean, social media has expanded exponentially since September 11. So that's probably a hypothetical question that's almost impossible to answer. If a September 11 were planned today, the chance of picking it up through social media and other forms of communication, which we now have much more surveillance of, as we found out, is much greater. Again, there's no 100% chance you're going to pick something up. But I think one of the reasons, I've forgotten who made this statement about, I think you did, about how long we've gone without a really massive attack like September 11. I think one of the reasons for that is it would be very hard to accomplish that today. The things that are in place today that weren't in place before September 11 give us a much greater chance of picking up a massive attack. On the other hand, that then leaves us vulnerable to these smaller attacks, which in essence take place under the radar that we've set up. And so we're safer against one, but we're more vulnerable to another. And although the numbers are different, you know, in a large attack, more people die, in a smaller attack, less people die. Both of them are enormously destabilizing to a country that, after all, values every human life. So we can say, well, 13 died here and 3,000 died there, and that does make a difference, but it's still very destabilizing, particularly if we have numerous acts like this, if we have numerous attempts to attack us. Even the attempts that we stop are very destabilizing.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Chair now recognizes the gentleman from Utah, Mr. Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for holding this very important hearing. And to the three witnesses, thank you for being here today. Mr. Mayor, you've received great praise, as you should have. Having been knighted, I hope you're not offended we haven't called you Sir Giuliani.
No, I appreciate it. I've explained to Mr. King, I try to hide the fact.
I hope that mayor is sufficient.
In Brooklyn, this